I was going to take a nap. I was going to exercise. And then I realized, wait, this is on camera, right? So I was going to be on the treadmill while I was talking to you. So, oh, well.
Would have been the first, but it would have been perfect. I mean,
yeah, that would have been a completely different look. So anyways.
Guys, I am super honored and a little bit nervous and excited to have this guest on the Ripple Effect podcast. You know her as Yvonne Nava on KVUE. She is our morning anchor for our ABC affiliate, and she is one of these amazing individuals that has such a personality that you just want to tune in to hear what she says, what her take is. She is hilarious. She is so much fun, and she will put a smile on your face every single morning. It's the perfect way to get my day started. I get home from the gym, pop on KVUE, and I just wait for what Yvonne's going to say because she is that great. She is a legend in Austin, and she is someone that I think that you guys are going to love because she understands the approach to being authentic and real, but bringing personality and pizzazz. And she is just phenomenal. And I'm so grateful she agreed to be a part of the Ripple Effect podcast. So let's jump in. Guys, I am super excited to introduce you to Yvonne Nava. Yvonne is someone that, as I mentioned in the intro, just brightens up all of Austin's morning. I mean, she is phenomenal. She is someone that will just make your day get off to the right start in the most perfect way. And so, Yvonne, welcome to the Ripple Effect podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me. I try to get your day off on the right foot. You can ask my husband that. He's like, I don't know about that. Every day, I don't know. Some days I kind of get on his nerves.
I don't know about that. I'm sure I do the same for my wife, but I mean, you have just a way of just making the day get going the right way. So I'm so thrilled. And you're so engaging. I mean, whether it's on air or you've been so great on social media. I mean, when you and I started connecting and you'd respond back to my tweets and you followed me and we had this great dialogue and back and forth and then on Instagram. And I'm so excited to have you on. I really, really appreciate you spending time with us.
Oh, my pleasure. It's just nice to know. It's funny because we get dressed and, hair, lashes, makeup, everything. And sometimes I'm thinking, is anyone really watching? It's like you would assume that someone's watching, but maybe they're not, maybe they're sleeping. It is early in the morning. So when someone does, text and, when you guys text your Instagram or anything, I love to respond because I'm thinking, oh, okay. So I did it for a reason.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Well, I'm a big believer in starting kind of with the origin story. So I'm kind of curious about kind of where you came from, sort of how you got into the news business, right? And just give our audience a sense of kind of who Yvonne Nava is.
Okay, that's a loaded question, but I'm from Laredo, Texas. Do you know where Laredo is? Just
absolutely, yep.
Border town. I grew up there in Laredo, and my mom is a nurse there. She's a registered nurse, and so she did a lot of stuff on public television. So it was basically just like voiceover work, and so she would do a lot of like health PSAs, in Spanish for ITV, instructional television. And then she would just say, hey, do you want to come with me? And I'll do the Spanish version and you'll do the English. And I was like, okay, this will be fun. And I just took to it. I really liked it. And
what age was that, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm trying to think. I believe I was maybe 16.
Oh, wow.
But ever since I was really young, I'm very curious. And I ask a lot of questions and I love to talk to people. So I would always just kind of chat with my friends, and they used to call me, I don't even know if I'm aging myself, but do you remember the talk show Bonnie, her name is Sally Jesse Raphael.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so she was a big deal. So they used to call me Bonnie in high school, all my friends. So they would say Bonnie Jesse Raphael, and they would always call me that. And I just thought it was funny. But then once I started doing stuff with television, well, really just audio at first, really. Yeah. It was just, I just loved it. And so I started working with my mom, and they weren't paying me. I was just kind of doing stuff for instructional television. Telemundo reached out and they said, hey, do you want to intern? And I thought, okay, my Spanish is okay. So I'll try. And so I started doing movie reviews in Spanish for Telemundo. And it was, I was not very good. That was a little rough, but they were so kind and they let me kind of try out there and, and just kind of work with them and, do some movie reviews. I remember it was Super Cop was one of them, Super Cop, and then Escape de LA. Those are my first 2 movie reviews.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Do you have those on YouTube anywhere? I'd love to see those.
I mean, I don't know, but I remember I would get worried because growing up Hispanic, my mom is a Mexican American, my dad's Spanish Italian, but you want to make sure that your English is perfect. You want to make sure your Spanish is perfect.
Yep.
So I would always get a little flubbed up with my Spanish conjugation. So I would say, okay, is this right? Is this right? And you want to make sure that you're doing every language justice,
Sure.
So yeah, but it was okay, but it was a lot of fun. So I did that, and then from then on, I just started I went to UT, and I took journalism classes there. I also took business courses there because I always figured after a while I needed something to fall back on. I wanted a plan B. So I thought maybe I can get a business degree and I can go into maybe broadcast management or something like that. So I got a business degree here and communications, and it was great. I really loved it. And I just interned a bunch.
Really?
And actually my first TV station, I worked behind the scenes. I was a production assistant at KCBD.
Oh, wow.
And I ran the prompter for everybody. I cleaned the trash cans. I did everything I needed to do. And they were so kind. I remember, I don't know if you remember him, Chris Willis was one of the morning anchors, so kind. And I thought, you know what? He's the kind of person, I don't even think he remembers, but I thought he's the kind of person that I want to be. It's no matter what, you're always kind to every single person. And, you make an impression on them. And so, they were nice to me. I would fall asleep on prompter because it was behind the Duratrend, behind the, and it was super early, obviously. And I was, still going to college. So I was staying up all hours of the night. So I would be running their prompter and then I'd fall asleep and they'd be like, prompter girl, wake up. So,
wake up, let's go.
Yeah, but now it's just interesting because, I used to be, just staying out all hours of the night. Now I'm in bed by like 6:30. I'm very disciplined with my sleep. But yeah, with TV, you work all over the place. So behind the scenes, first job, KCBD here. And then I moved everywhere. First honor job, San Angelo, Texas, then Lubbock, Texas, Knoxville, Tennessee. My dream job was in Miami. I wanted to anchor there by the time I was 28. It's a very competitive market.
Yep.
And I started working there. And then from there, I went to Connecticut and I worked for the NBC O&O, NBC Connecticut. We covered the entire state. And then I moved back home and I've always wanted to work at KVUE. So very exciting to come back home. And even though it's not Laredo, I still call it home because I have family here. And, I went to school here and all my friends are here. It's just really great.
That's awesome. Well, so let me ask you, there's a lot to unpack there, but the piece that I would be the most curious about, because I've always, you see, a lot of shifting in the market, and you just celebrated 10 years at KVUE, which is quite an accomplishment. Right. And I always tell my wife, if Yvonne leaves, it's going to be disaster.
So let me send you my general manager and my news director's email address. Yeah. You can tell that to them.
Well, it's kind of funny because I mentioned to you on Instagram that I connected with her on LinkedIn. So I will definitely do that because she's a Lobo.
No, I was just kidding. But if you want, you can. I was just totally.
Of course. No. I'm kidding. But I would do that because we're like, hey, look, you cannot lose Yvonne. Contract negotiations, sweet. You need to call me. We'll get you.
That's very sweet. I really do love it here. And 10 years. Yeah. 10 years here at KVUE. But before that, as I mentioned, I was moving all over the place and I've been in the industry for about almost 25 years.
Wow.
So it's been a long, long journey. And you move, well, at least back in my day, you used to move around and you go where the job is and you would move a lot. Now it seems like people kind of move a little bit quicker. So that's kind of like you'd go a year here, maybe 2 years there, and you just kind of move up the ladder, so to speak.
Absolutely. Well, even with your morning team, right? You've had some transition, and you and Brian Mays were just like, such a great pairing. But everybody that comes in, right? You have instant connection and chemistry with whoever happens to be at the desk, right? Whether it's the new weather person or the new traffic reporter. The team now is really awesome, but I notice even on their first days, it's just like, you have to make that job easier for them because you just make them feel so welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, that is so important, especially since I've been there for quite some time. I want to make sure that everybody feels welcome. One of our newest reporters, it's his birthday today, and I said, I can't go today to go celebrate your birthday, but we're going to go do something afterwards. Another time we'll go have lunch or something. It's just important that you work with people where you get along with them off camera, on camera, and you just try to find a connection. You know, all of us are trying to make a living. This is our job, but we want to enjoy the job and enjoy the
Absolutely.
people that we're with. And it has really been fun, but there has been a lot of change, and hopefully this is it. You know, it's Hannah,
For a
Shane,
little bit.
myself, and Rob. Let's keep it like this
Yep.
for some time, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but that just goes to show that like just the like how things change so much in this industry. I
Sure.
mean, I so many times they're like, wait, where did she go? You know, where did so and so go? Where did so and I'm like, well, I mean, you can't fault people for wanting to move on, move
Sure.
up, you know, to bigger markets, make more money and do what they need to do, you know, and I mean that's their dream, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can't fault them, but it does get kind of sad.
Well,
I
I
feel
mean,
like
yeah, two questions I've got there though, right? So are a lot of the movements tend to happen within the company? Because I know you guys are owned by a pretty major media conglomerate, right? So is that something that happens because it's a corporate move or because people are proactive? I'm sure probably both, right? But when those
I
moves
think
happen,
yeah, it's both. Like
okay,
it's definitely both. Just the last, I would say, three folks that left KVU, they move within the company, so it's an
okay,
internal move, it's an internal promotion, and it's great, you know. And it just makes sense if you have someone who's such a great asset to the team. Why wouldn't you want them on your team at a sister station?
sure,
So it just
sure,
makes sense, you know.
yeah. Well, so let me go back to your Miami days. If that was the dream job, then what did they do to, pry you out of Miami to get to Connecticut?
Have you worked in Miami?
I have not,
It's
no.
fun, but it's like run and gun.
Really?
I just thought, you know, my husband had already moved there. We weren't even married at the time. We were engaged, and then we moved there, and then we got married probably a couple of months after both being there. So we actually both got jobs at the same station, which is kind of unheard of, and it's hard in
Yeah,
this industry.
yeah.
But he's very good at what he does. He's a sportscaster,
He is,
and
yes.
so and so when we were there, we covered a lot of hurricanes. We covered a lot of, you know, a lot of different stories, but it was like on 10, like breaking
Right.
news on 10, everything to the max, you know, and it was great for about 3 years. But then after that, I just started thinking, well, I don't know. I mean, would I want to settle down here? Would I want to raise kids here? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but I'm just saying for me, I was thinking my family's not there. It's a lot of work, work, work. I needed more of a balance. And so we just thought, well, what else could we do? And then my husband got a job at ESPN.
Yeah.
I got a job at the NBC O&O there in Connecticut. And I didn't even know at the time that where I was working and where Bristol is, Connecticut's really small.
It
And I didn't
is.
know, I mean, they were like 15 miles apart, you know?
Yeah,
I didn't know. I mean, I'd never lived in the Northeast,
yeah.
but it was great. So he worked out of Bristol. I worked out of Hartford, and we lived in West Hartford, and we just
Oh.
loved it. And we had our first son there.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, and
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, you coming from Texas, I mean, it takes 4 hours to get to anywhere from
I know,
virtually
right?
anywhere.
I mean, you could be, you know, in a different state easy up there.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? So yeah, I loved Connecticut. I loved it a lot. And even with the winters and the nor'easters, I
yeah.
didn't mind it at all. And the longest I'd been anywhere until here was there. I was there for 5 years, and we
Wow.
really loved it. But it was just after a while, I just really missed my family. And once you have, as you know, once you have
Yep.
a child, it's nice to have that support system.
Yeah.
And so we thought, let's just move back. But there wasn't a job opening.
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law had heard that um, newscaster Melissa Gale was retiring. I guess she had made an
Yeah.
announcement on the
Yep.
air. He called me right away and said, hey, she's retiring. And I thought, oh, that's the position I want. I wanted mornings. I wanted KVUE.
Yep.
And the position had been open for 15 years. So I said, I've got to
Yep.
get this, you know, it's this interview, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I want this job. And so I actually got an agent. I never had an agent before. And
Really?
I done it everything on my own. I use like, you know, you use like what are they called? Like not
Like,
headhunters, I
yeah, well,
guess
yeah, headhunters, recruiters, they, sort of
recruiters
internal. Yep.
where you don't, you know, really have to sign a contract or pay or
Right.
anything. But I did in this case because I needed to get out of my contract in a very cordial way. I mean,
Sure,
everything was
sure.
great, but I just thought, how many more years will it be until this position is open again for me?
Yeah.
And I really, really, really want to move back. So I made the hard decision because I really loved NBC Connecticut, but we said, well, let's do it. So, we did, and it worked out. And the second I met Albert and Brian, I mean, it was over.
It was over.
Cameras weren't even rolling. We were just
Yeah.
laughing and joking, we had our mics on and we were just in the studio laughing and joking. And I didn't know that the news director at the time was watching, and he was just watching us chat and just be natural together without, I guess the run through hadn't even started,
Sure. Yeah.
the interview
Just naturally.
process,
Yeah. Natural connection. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just so much fun. And so, I just knew. It was funny. My parents actually dropped me off for the interview because I wasn't living here.
Yeah.
So they dropped me off. I mean, what am I, 12? They're dropping me off at the interview. And then they went to the Whataburger down the street and then just hung out. And then I went to the interview and I just loved it. I had a really good time. And I just had this feeling like this is for me. I love the general manager. I mean, everything worked out. And when I got back in the car, the funniest thing, I got back in the car, my parents said, so how do you think it went? I said, I got the job. And they were like, wait, did you? And I said, I feel like I got the job. They were like, you were so confident. But it was just a feeling like everything made sense. Nothing was forced. All the connections were great. But I wasn't being full of myself. I was just very confident that this was it in my gut. This was it. I said, I got the job. They said, okay, well, let's wait and see. And then later on, I ended up getting,
when right? I mean,
yeah,
it just happens.
Knew. And I really had never always had, I had, but not to that extent. It was so strong, my gut feeling on this one.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Well, I mean, you're a huge asset for them. So they definitely made the right hire. There's no doubt. How have you seen, I mean, obviously with the career path that you've had, the news business has changed a lot, especially now with social media and sort of the pressures of, 24-hour news cycles, right? What have you seen that has really surprised you about the changing landscape of the news business?
Oh, wow. It is interesting. I remember when they had us sign up for Twitter, I thought, really, am I going to have to use this? I don't understand. I'm barely, you all made me get on Facebook. What is this Facebook? I didn't understand, but it really has changed. For example, even just with Twitter, if anything, this morning, one of the school districts decided that they were going Marble Falls on a 2-hour delay. Normally, think about it. They would have to send out a press release and it would be this big to do. Yep. They tweeted, boom, they sent it. And within seconds, we all were like, oh, okay. Should we mention this? The next break, let me mention this. Okay. Right after weather, Yvonne, mention it. I mean, it's just so instantaneous to get all the information and it's really helpful, especially with police departments, fire departments, school districts. It's just really great. So that's something where, we had to get used to, but you realize you kind of have to use it for good. You know what I mean? Like use it, but I mean, every now and then, sometimes you're like, oh, I think I might have to block that person. They're bringing some negativity and I'm not into that, but they're very few and far between. I promise. I really do have a lot of really kind people. It's funny. I think maybe like really not kind tweets or something like that. I probably, like, in one hand, I could tell you the 10 years I've been here, they're really kind.
That's
for real.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so aside from social, how have you seen the business change? Has it dramatically shifted in your view?
It has shifted in the sense of, I feel as if sometimes, whereas it would take maybe a journalist, like I mentioned, like 6 years or 8 years to get to a certain spot. Now it's like 2, and there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes with every station and at least for me, speaking on my behalf, every station that I went to and every job that I had, I learned something about myself as a person and I learned something about the profession. And there's just certain things that you're not going to know until you're there.
Right.
And I know everybody's like, yeah, no, this is great. This is great. It is great, but you do make mistakes. I mean, I made plenty, but I wanted to make my mistakes in smaller markets. I mean, my first live shot, I said my own name wrong. I called myself Yvonne Nava. I was so nervous in San Angelo. I mean, mess. I was so messy, but I wanted to make those mistakes in small markets. And I feel as if now it's a little younger. There's nothing, you still have some rock stars, but it is harder. And you notice, I think I was talking to Rob the other day about someone that he worked with. And I think he said she's 23 or 24. I think he said 23 or 24. She got the top a top anchor job in New York. And I was thinking, whoa,
Whoa.
that's
Yeah.
really young. I mean, she may be amazing. I'm,
Yep.
not knocking her at all, but it's just, it's just different,
Yep.
it's different in the sense that you had to work your way and really earn a spot. And now I guess maybe you earn it in different ways. You know what I mean? Maybe you just earn it by having to just go quickly and learn everything. But for me, I definitely took my time to get to where I am right now. And I think it's really shaped me as a person.
Yeah.
And it's helped me have a deeper appreciation and understanding for what I do and everything, and just a work ethic, and that's just my perspective.
No, it's a really great perspective. I had Lynn Smith that had been at the Today Show, and then she moved over to CNN Headline News. She was a guest a few months back, and she had sort of the same kind of process. Actually, she was a page at NBC while she was trying to figure out what she was doing, and they started giving her some opportunities to come in and fill in and read some segments, and then they were like, "Hey, you've got a knack for it." But she ended up kind of a similar path, right? Kept going to all these different markets, and finally, put it, what she sort of attributed to is putting in the work, right? Put in the work, learn what you can from the people that you can. And then she has a similar mindset. I've seen it just getting to know her and become friends, is that you always help the other person up, right? Sort of like what happened with you at KXAN. That is so critical. Do you see that as more, because there is so much movement in the industry and everybody is trying to sort of get to that next level? Do you think that sense of competitiveness creates conflict in some capacities?
Well, it depends. Like, do you allow yourself to be competitive? Because this is my thing. I don't compete with anybody but myself. I want to be the best version of myself. And I think when you just stay in your lane, you focus on yourself, it's really easy to look left and right. Well, she's doing this, she's doing that. No. Just look straight. You got it. You're just focused on yourself. And that's what I have done. And it really has served me well, because it's really hard. I mean, think about it. There's so many people, and it's really hard to kind of get lost in all of that.
Sure.
And then you'll start to doubt yourself. And that's just not for me, so it's very easy to just get distracted, and I don't want to get distracted. I want to stay focused. However, when we do have newer folks come in, I love to mentor. Love it.
Yeah.
Right now there's 2 girls that I'm mentoring right now, but I really enjoy it. And when they come up and, the thing is, if they're willing to listen, then I'm willing to help, and if they're not willing to listen, then I'm like, well, they can handle it themselves. And if they have questions, they can always ask me.
Yeah.
But I don't want to come across as I'm momming them, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But if they're thinking, well, she's kind of, been through it, maybe I can ask for help. Oh my gosh, I'll give it, 24/7. I don't mind at all. There's one reporter, she's the sweetest. And whenever she tracks her stories, no matter what, weekday, weekend, she'll call me. And I'll be at a restaurant and I'll be like, hold on. And I'll go outside and I'll be like, okay, go. And we'll go line by line. And when she's tracking it, we'll kind of go over it. And I'm like, no, you need inflection here or there. And at first she would think that it was really bothering me, but I don't mind it at all, because I would have loved for someone to kind of do that with me. And I did have a few mentors, but I also had a good examples of what not to be and what you don't want to be, and it's just important. What you put out there is what you get in return. And I just want to put out, you know what I mean? Like, let's help each other. Let's be kind. And, that's just kind of how I've done it.
I love it. Well, I was going to ask you if you had advice for people that were looking to, to journal, to become a journalist in whether it's on air or, just in the profession in general. But, I was going to ask for tips, but that's the best tip of all, right? Is, stay in your lane, stay focused on what you're doing, because everything else is exhausting, right? But at the end of the day, help where you can and contribute. And if you're coming in as a new person, ask a lot of questions and find those mentors, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really important, because I mean, if you think about it, how tiring would it be to just be, I mean, every time you turn, there's always someone different, but there's only going to be one you. Yep. I mean, as much as it sounds like super cornball, like cheesy, but there really is only one you. So focus on that person. And, I already know I'm never going to be blonde. I'm never going to be, 6 foot tall. I'm never going to be a size 2, but I'm going to be me,
Yep.
And whatever I don't have in this, I make up for it in personality. Like, I don't know. I don't know. That's what I tell myself. So.
Well, it seems to work. I love those behind the scene pictures when it's, you got next to Rob and then you're on a box, with your tennis shoes and you're just like,
yeah,
this is me, right? I love it.
Yeah. Especially when I was between Dominique and Rob, I was like, these they're both so statuesque, and
Yeah.
here I am standing on a bunch of chicken noodle soup cans. I was at Monument Cafe in Georgetown,
Yep.
and I was like, we didn't have something. It was too tall. And
Yep.
then I looked weird because, I don't know, it just didn't seem right. So then they said, we have a bunch of soup cans. And I thought, are they sturdy enough for me? So we were like testing it out, and it worked out. Just give me something to stand on and a light, and I'll go to town. It's fine.
I love it. I love it. Well, let me ask you a couple of other questions. So like, if you weren't doing this for a job now, what do you think you'd be doing?
I think I'd be in marketing or PR for sure.
Okay.
For sure. Something with people, a lot of people, I'm definitely a people person. And I've always thought it'd be really cool to go into, PR marketing, more so marketing, I think, like advertising, all things like that. I just think it'd be cool.
Do you think you got more of that sort of people person, kind of personality from your mom or your dad?
Both my parents, but I would say for sure my dad.
Yeah.
Like for sure. He's a very, very gregarious person. He was a very gregarious person. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That personality type is so important. It endears people to you in such a way. And so I think that you got the best parts of that for sure.
Yeah. But and I laugh because my kindness, I definitely, both my parents, but my mom, I mean, she's just a saint, the nicest person. I mean, I could say anything and she's like, well, and she always is the sweetest. But my father was a political science professor, and so he would always give his the class, speech class,
Uh-huh.
and he would, even when I was, I don't know, I guess I was 6, 7, and he would have me stay in his office, but we shared a wall, the office and his classroom. So I would always kind of like listen in, and I would listen in when he was, talking to his class. And I noticed that he just had them like on the edge of their seat, the way he was storytelling and talking, and they would be laughing, and then they'd be listening. Then they'd be, it was just so cool. And I would just listen. I mean, with like awe, my eyes would be so big, and I loved it. And I just thought there's something about the way he just can command a room, you know what I mean? And he has such a presence to him, super funny, and just all these wonderful things. And I just thought, when I decided that I wanted to become a journalist, it was funny because my mom was all about it. And my dad said, okay, but do me one. He said, I have one thing to ask of you. He's like, if I ever see that you are not yourself, and you're not acting like yourself, and you're acting like something other than yourself, or you think that you're like too big, like too cool for school, whatever. He said, I'm going to pull you out and tell you to go do something else, because he wanted to make sure that I was always genuine, always authentic, and always myself. And that was honestly really, really good advice, because you can't get lost in the sauce, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a job. You know what I mean? Yeah. We all have jobs. And it's important that you just stay grounded and down to earth and authentic. And I'm hoping that people resonate with that. You know what I mean? I feel like they do, because there's not an Yvonne off camera and on camera. Ask anyone that knows me. It's the same person, whether you like it or not, but it's the same person, the jokes are the same, and this is the same. And, I'm just a little bit more made up, on TV because of all the stuff.
So where did your dad teach?
Laredo Community College. He's a political science professor. He actually helped write the city charter in Laredo. And he helped, he actually taught some of our representatives and some people, in Congress right now. So he had a big impact on a lot of people.
That's
and myself included.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you, what's the best piece of advice you received, but it sounds like that might've been it.
Yeah. It's just so important to be yourself. You know what I mean? And it sounds so cliche, but it really has served me well. And I think it's funny because people say, did that really happen to you? I'm like, yeah, I mean, this is really like, that's it, but whether I'm at the Walgreens or I'm at HEB or I'm at my kid's school or on camera, it's the same. You know what I mean? Except sometimes just more lashes or larger lashes and sometimes less. That's it. That's the only difference, really.
I love it. Well, I had a good friend that I had mentioned that I had signed you up to be on the podcast, and she had met you at an HEB, and she said, "Oh my God, she's exactly like she is on television."
No kidding, at HEB too?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really funny.
That's a
It's
great
funny.
endorsement for you. I mean, I just think that's awesome, right? You know,
Uh,
like you said, just be yourself, and you never have to worry about what you were because you are what you are.
right. Wouldn't that be so confusing? It's like I just can't. I can't do that.
Yeah.
And it's really fun because a lot of my real close friends are still friends from college. And except calling me Bonnie, they call me Yvonne now, but that's about it. They're like, yeah, that's the same person. It's funny because whenever we go out and I'm with my husband and we'll be like at, I don't know, any store or whatever, it's the voice that like people always recognize my husband's voice. They'll
Uh-huh.
be in a different aisle and then it's always like, the dads will come out and be like, oh,
Yeah.
Alex Loeb,
Yeah.
they
Longhorn
always
Network.
know.
Yeah.
And it's usually the wives that are like, hey, Yvonne, how are you? Like they say, I'm like their fun Thea. And I'm like, okay, I'll
Yeah.
take it,
I love
I'll be
that.
the crazy aunt. I love it,
So
It's
as you were
fun.
getting into the news business, right? And sort of looking at that as hey, this is the career path I really want to go. Who were some of the icons, or heroes of the business that you really looked up to and followed?
Oh man. I loved Katie Couric. Um, I loved Diane Sawyer. I mean, I still love them,
Yeah, yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
Um, who else? Oh my gosh, yes, headline news. I loved Robin Meade.
Yeah.
I always thought she was so bubbly and sweet, and I loved how she just seemed so likable,
Yeah.
and I liked her a lot. So I would think, in different, and you might think this is interesting and a weird response, but I love the way Howard Stern does interviews. He
Yes.
conducts interviews so well and he gets people to open up, and I love that. So I think I would just kind of pick a little bit from every different person, but I really did think that Diane Sawyer for sure, Katie Kirk were great. And then I just love the very sweet persona and I noticed that, I don't know if you've noticed with Robin Meade, but even now, she's been doing it for quite some time. She's just talking. She's just
Yeah.
talking
Just
to you.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so relaxing, and I love that. But different people for different reasons. But yeah, and interviewing technique and skill for sure, Howard Stern.
Yeah. Oh, he's a master. There's no doubt. Well, I'll
Really
give you a
good.
connection point. Connection points are these things that are, I call that are sort of the little bite-sized morsels of information you pick up about people that you kind of file away. But
Yeah.
I was a dedicated Robin Meade fan, still
Really?
am, don't get me wrong, until we flipped over to KVUE one time and I saw you and I, just loved your personality. And I used to every morning HLN was like on. And then when I get back from the gym now, it's only KVUE.
Wait, hold the
It's
phone
true.
here.
Yeah, my
So
wife
you
will
stopped
guarantee.
watching Robin to watch me?
Yes,
I am
absolutely.
like not
Yeah.
worthy. Are you serious?
Yeah, I did.
I still love her.
Yeah.
I follow her on Instagram and everything. And I just thought she was just the sweetest. And to me, she would always draw me in with her just relaxed persona. And she was just talking to me. And that's what I tell people now. If I'm, helping to mentor someone, I said, look, you look at the camera and it's just a camera. And just you're talking to your Thea, you're talking to your mom,
Yep.
you're talking to your uncle, whoever is your favorite person. That's who you're talking to,
Yep.
And so, oh, that's really sweet.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just made my week.
Yeah.
That's
That's awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, my wife was super surprised because I was like over the moon. Like, I loved HLN. It was on every day. And then
Mhm.
when I started watching you, I think maybe it was your second or third year.
Yeah.
And then basically that's it. So that's KVUE, KVUE won the household. So
Oh, that's so awesome. That's really
so
awesome.
so yeah, I could tell you're general manager that one too. So that'll
Oh,
that'll help. So
I mean, you are just my favorite.
yeah, I try. What can I say? Well,
That's
let me ask you, what do you think your superpower is? Like, everybody's got one. So what do you think your superpower, your genius is?
Oh my gosh. Let me see. Hey, Alex, are you hearing this? What's my superpower? Ooh, yeah, good one. Thanks. He's upstairs working. Um, Energy. I don't
Energy.
drink coffee like ever.
Really?
I just wake up and I have a lot of energy. You
Oh
know what
my
I mean?
gosh.
Yeah, people always that is kind of interesting that people think that, they always say, "Oh, I'm sure let's go have coffee." And I was like, "Okay, I'll have some tea or something." But I
Uh-huh.
really don't. I don't even really drink much. Maybe I have like half a like a protein shake, and that's it. I don't really do much any of that. It gives me a headache and stuff. And so even this is just water. So, yeah.
That's great.
Mhm.
Well, that's a great superpower to have. I mean, and I think it also helps because, when you see somebody that's in their element doing the job that they really were destined to do, it shows. That's what comes across with you, right? At the
Oh,
end of the
thank
day,
you
I
so
think it
much.
really does. And so you probably don't need caffeine to get up and do that
Oh.
every day. But, one question I would be remiss to, not ask would be, what is like what is the morning routine like for a morning anchor? Because
Yeah.
you guys get up and you're there like super early, and I go to the gym at 4:45 and people look at me cross-eyed and I'm like, well, yeah, but the news has
That's
already
really
been on for
good.
15 minutes.
Yeah, no, that's really good. You're like on our schedule.
Yeah.
I wake up well, first of all, I go to bed. I try to around 6:30. And
And that's got to be hard with kids, right? I
it's
mean,
very hard, but the only reason why I'm able to do it is because of Alex. So
yeah,
he
yeah,
helps me out so much. If he has a game or he has a broadcast that night, I just make sure I make dinner early for the kids, and then I help the youngest one bathe, get everything ready, and then we have a 12-year-old who's like an adult.
yeah.
I'll say, okay, well, I'm going to do this. If you need anything, wake me up. If not, can you put the alarm on? Let's go to bed.
Yeah.
And your bedtime is this time, your bedtime. And they do a good job of
That's
making sure,
awesome.
but for the most part, my husband really kind of handles that. And then they all kind of tuck me in at night. They all do. The 8-year-old, the
Oh,
12-year-old, and my husband, good night. And it's 6:30. And then I go to bed. And I think that's also what helps with my energy is that I have a very disciplined sleep regimen. So like,
yeah.
somehow Sunday night into Monday, I don't know what happened, but in the middle of the night, I woke up for about 2 hours. And that was the worst. I hate
Oh,
when that
yeah.
happens, but
Yep.
it doesn't happen that often. But when it
That's
does,
good.
it's like torture the next day. But for the most part, I try to get 8 hours of sleep. Then I wake up at 3 a.m.
Whew.
And I used to wake up earlier, but now I'm just like, nope, you get what you get. You're getting 1 hour of prep time, and whatever happens, happens. But I wake up at 3 o'clock and take a shower and I'm out the door by 3:30. Show up to work looking rough. You wouldn't want to see it. I have rollers. I have like cream all over my face. My face is kind of white, and I have the rollers, and I'm usually like in sweats. And once I go in there, I have a laptop and I'm checking scripts starting at 4 o'clock. And I'm getting ready and doing everything. Like I'm literally like multitasking with rollers, everything. And then I'm on the desk by 4:56.
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing. And I think that people that are not in TV don't understand. And this is something that being on time is so important because some people are like, oh, I got stuck in traffic. I'll be, a few
Yeah.
minutes late. I don't have that luxury. I
No.
have to be seated with a microphone every morning at a certain time. If
Yeah.
I'm not there on time, I don't make it into work, so to speak. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So time is so important, and deadlines and, all that kind of stuff is just so important. So yeah, usually, I have it down to by 4:40, my lashes. By 4:50, I have to have just be looking and making sure everything's okay. By 4:52, I'm walking down the hall, and then I should be there by 4:54-ish.
Yeah.
And then Hannah's finishing up the 4:30, and then getting ready for the 5.
Well, I've always been curious about the 4:30 to 5. Was that was that written into your contract so you didn't have to be there on air at 4:30 or?
No, we used to do it for a while.
Yeah,
We
you
we
did.
definitely did it, and we also did midday.
Yeah.
Those were, how did I survive? Those were about 7 years rather. For
Yeah.
7 years, we did it that way. And I remember by 12 o'clock, I was spent. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I was so tired. It's just a long day, because it's 2.5 hours and another hour and a big break in between. So no. Now, I think it was a couple of years ago. I think they were like, you know what, let's have the traffic anchor do the 4:30. And I was like, this is great because then we can really focus on proofing and like doing,
That's good.
looking at all the scripts that our wonderful producers have been working on since 10:30 the night before. So they've been working on it. And then when we come in, we can just kind of make some adjustments. What I do is I'll read a script. And if I flub up and it doesn't
Flow. Yeah.
doesn't seem natural, then I have to change it. And I change it to the way maybe I would speak, or I change it to another word where I'm like, yeah, it's not anything with the way it's written. It's just, it didn't come out naturally. And I know that if that's the case, then when we're live on air, it's not going to
Yeah.
It's just not going to work. So I'll fix it real quick and we'll make all these changes. And then I'll also proof the scripts as I'm going along because I can't do 2 hours, in time. So usually I'll proof about 45 minutes worth of scripts. And then when I'm on the desk, and we also run our own prompter.
Yeah, I've noticed you on the side always have the little, kind of
A
prompter
little,
device. I mean, you came with experience there, so that's easy, right?
I know, but this time I don't fall asleep. I stay awake, which is awesome. No, we have like a toggle,
Yeah.
and then we also have a foot pedal. I like the foot pedal the
Oh,
best.
okay.
And then some people use like it looks like a little remote control. So there's 3 different ways. But I like the foot pedal the best. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so what do you think? I'm going to ask you a couple of Ripple specific questions. So, what do
Okay.
you think the best thing you could hear from, a colleague, a manager, or a viewer about who Yvonne Nava is?
Oh my gosh. Well, with a manager, I would say that they know that I really have a passion and that they can tell that I'm loving what I'm doing and that I'm
Yeah.
trying my very best and I'm working hard because I want that to show because I really give it 110%. With the viewer, the best thing anybody could say is, my gosh, you're the exact same person. Or they tell me something, nothing superficial. I don't care about this. It's something about me as a person. Like, you're so kind, or I think I could just really tell that, you're so authentic or your heart's really in it. Like, to me, that's the best, the best compliment
Yeah.
anybody can say. It's something about my character, and ask my photographer that I work with every morning. He knows that those are the compliments that I get that just really make me beam up, because to me, like, that's really what matters. It's the inside. I know it sounds cheesy, but it
No,
does.
it's not. I
It
mean,
does.
it's anything but cheesy. I think it's actually so authentic, and I think if more people were like that, the world would be a lot better place, right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the superficial stuff. I mean, it's just literally smoke and mirrors. It's
Yeah.
not anything that's substantial, at least not to me.
Absolutely.
So.
I guess one of the things that I would like to ask you is, what do you think, or I guess, where do you find your inspiration? Like, what keeps you so energetic and motivated and inspired? I mean, you obviously, are that for us as the viewers. So, for you, you've got to find it from somewhere.
Inspiration, I mean, I would say in the stories. I mean,
Okay.
so many wonderful stories. And it's not just all, death and destruction and heartbreak. I mean, some stories are just really, they just kind of tug at your heartstrings. And I love stories that make people smile. That's why I have to do mornings forever. I
Yep.
don't ever want to do another shift, because you have that versatility in the morning. You have so much time. And
Yeah.
to me, that's just, I don't know. I just think it's wonderful. I don't think I can just keep it all like serious. You know what I mean? I like to have those stories that really make you feel good and you're thinking about, and you also see, so and so has these struggles and look how they're overcoming those struggles. And you know what I mean? I just think that that's really inspirational, but it's other people that definitely inspire me. And of course my family does
Yep.
as well. It's funny because my 12-year-old, I mean, he gives the best advice. He's like a little man, gives the best advice. And sometimes I'm thinking, how does he know? He knows more than I do. He's like, Mom, I don't know if I would have said it that way, because sometimes I can't be blunt. And he's like, maybe I would have said it this way. And I thought, oh, okay, and then my 8-year-old is just, I mean, he's a spitfire. He's like a mini me.
Yep.
And he just cracks me up too. And just so loving and kind and cariñoso, is always hugging me and just sweet things like that. And that's what matters, is family and just other people's stories, I would think, for sure.
Oh,
That
I
to me
love
is
that.
inspiring. Yeah.
Well, so what do you think the next 5 years looks like for you?
Hopefully it's still KVUE. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my plan. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
good.
Yeah,
I've got
yeah,
that on
that's
video because I'm going to hold you to it. So,
yeah. What, do you know something I don't know? No. My managers are great, and our general manager is fantastic, and she knows how much I love it there, and they're very, very, very kind. So yeah, so that's my plan, is to continue staying at KVUE and just staying with this sleep schedule. I know it seems weird. However, I do, since I've been there for 10 years, I do get a good dose of vacation time.
yeah.
Like if my son has something at night, you know what? He has a choir performance. I'm not going to come in tomorrow,
Yep.
and they're really flexible and stuff. So I love it. So yeah, it's a huge sacrifice to work the hours, but I also get a lot of time to just have family time, and they
Yeah.
understand the balance and all that. And that's so important. Having that balance, imagine not being able to, I don't know how people can have a job where there is no balance. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's
Because you
tough.
have to be like 100% feeling good. Like if I know that something's not right at home, or I'm not spending enough time with my kids, that would, I think, kind of trickle into my work life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That would make me
Yeah.
sad and, feeling,
Yeah, I totally identify with it. It's one of the reasons I became an entrepreneur. So I had that flexibility to do what I
yeah.
wanted when I wanted to. And specifically when you're raising kids, you want to be at the school play, or you want to be at, the lunch opportunities or the assembly or whatever it might be. And so those things are
Mhm.
important for sure.
Yeah, so important. Yeah. And to volunteer, if I want to volunteer at the school or
Yep.
do whatever I need to do. And if, let's say, God forbid they're sick or something, I get home early enough that if my husband has to go to work, well, I'm already home,
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice. But I don't take them to school in the morning, but I'm not really that upset about that because it just seems like a lot of stress. So I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
I'll pick them up. Yeah.
Well, I would say, if this news thing doesn't work out for you, I mean, you should try comedy. I mean, you would be the most
Oh,
perfect
really?
stand-up comedian.
Oh my gosh. It's really funny. I worked in so many different markets, and you realize you kind of pick up on like what the viewers in that market really,
That
enjoy. And
vibe, right? Yeah.
Connecticut taught me so much about witty humor and quick humor.
Yep.
When I moved there, I was like, oh, okay. It's not like cheesy kind of humor. It's like
Yeah.
they need you to be on, be focused, and it's just quick humor. And I remember at first I was like, oh, okay, I need to like jump in there. Like I need to like understand how. And I think I'm somewhat, funny, but
Oh,
you
you're
have to
very
be like,
funny.
oh, thank you.
Very,
But you
very
have to
funny.
be, it's like double Dutch. You've got to be
Yeah.
like listening in and like really like jumping in, you know what I mean? And being quick. And I really learned that from my coworkers in Connecticut, And then, I mean, sitting next to, Brian and others here, I mean, it's pretty fun, But yeah,
Yeah.
I think I wear my emotions on my sleeve. Everybody always laughs. They're like, yeah, I could tell you were not having it. I'm like, no, I wasn't. I will tell you if I'm having it or if I'm not, but I'll be honest.
Well, one of the things that I really appreciated about you, and I'm still working on it, was the Rosie Perez connection. I'm still working on trying to connect you to Rosie Perez.
Yes, I was able to do the Latinas in Power, this big, event that we used to have in Connecticut and with Marilyn Alverio. And I don't know how she has that connection. Oh, I believe her cousin is Rita Moreno. And
Oh, I
so
did not
she
know
knew,
that.
yeah,
Oh.
my friend Marilyn. So that's her cousin. So then I don't know how Rita might know Rosie. And I thought, oh my gosh, like white man can't jump, like everything everything Rosie. And she was so lovely. I mean,
Yeah.
just so pretty and so lovely, beautiful skin. I remember I was just kind of staring at her, and yeah, we took some pictures together, and yeah. And
Well,
we're not
I tried
besties,
tweeting
but
her.
for
She
the
didn't
day we were.
respond there. So maybe this podcast interview, I will get it to somebody that knows her, and she'll know we've got to make this connection happen.
I know. Yeah, no, she's fantastic. And she's still doing some great
Yeah.
work,
Yeah.
She's in flight attendant right now. She's really good.
Yeah. That's and doing a great job in that for
Yeah.
sure. Absolutely. Well, let me ask you, what does the ripple effect mean to you?
Well, I would think, ripple effect, I mean, it's kind of like what the term is. I mean, I think that whatever you put out there, it kind of comes down and it just kind of passes over. So for example, if I'm not having the best day and I maybe snap at someone in the grocery store, then I think that will create a ripple effect. And then that person will do the same to others. So I feel like you need to start the ripple on some positivity, because I think that that'll just kind of spread in a good way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, no,
Happiness is contagious.
yeah, it is. Absolutely. I mean, you're proof of that for sure. I mean, you're proof that a smile and really a giving heart, because you show up, and like you said, very heart, you wear your heart on your sleeve and everybody can see it. It comes across and it really just makes everybody's day. So,
oh, thank you so much.
yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Well, I'm a huge fan. Obviously, I'm a bit, I'm so committed to, watching and seeing when people do a great job, trying to bring attention and focus to it. So I was super thrilled, to have you as part of the podcast. But I got to ask you, what kind of ripple can I create for you?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. You can, I don't know, spread the word for people to watch KB News in the morning.
I will do that. I'll be happy to do that. Absolutely. And, if you ever see, and this is true. I mean, if there's any way, any opportunity where I can create something positive, aside from spreading, the gospel of what you do in the morning show, I'm happy to do it, because I'm a huge fan, and I like supporting great people that are out there doing and making a difference in the world. So,
thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I just realized one thing. Is this more straight or is this straight? I don't even know.
Yeah, it didn't matter. Yeah, you come across perfectly. Yeah, you come across.
Isn't that funny? Unless the camera's like not this big, I'm like, I have no idea where I'm looking.
Oh, that's awesome. No, you were dead on the whole time. It was perfect. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. So that everybody that sees this, how would you like them to follow you? What's the best way to follow you for social?
Yes, follow me. You can follow me on Twitter. It's Yvonne _KVUE, I believe. I'll definitely check that one. And then on Instagram, it's Yvonne from KVUE. And then definitely and any form of communication. I'm usually pretty responsive, as you know.
Yeah.
But what is Yvonne N _KVUE. That's on Twitter.
Okay, that's on Twitter.
And I love it. Yeah, definitely, for sure. And we're on Monday through Friday from 5 to 7, but you can start as early as 4:30 if you're an early bird. If you're at the gym or something, you can start watching at 4:30, but 5 to 7, and it's really great. And I love that, now we can just focus on the morning. We've been able to, so we can save all our energy for that. Whereas before, I felt like I had to kind of conserve it all the way to 12, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is exhausting. So it's really nice to be able to just 2 hours of energy and fun and informative, news. By the way, how did you fare with last night's weather?
Oh, fine. Yeah, actually, we didn't have it. Just stuff got blown around the yard, but other than that, it was not a problem. How about y'all?
Yeah, no, we were good, but there were a lot of power outages in some other areas, and and it's funny because you have a number, and then when everybody wakes up, they were realizing, oh wait, I don't have power. So that was just something that kind of created a big ripple effect as well. So.
Yeah, it was great to actually see, to see Hunter, just doing the thing on Facebook last night, and watching. Okay, it's going to hit here at 9:12 and 9:15, and it'll be out of here by midnight.
And he's our new chief meteorologist. And then in the morning we have Shane. We love Shane.
Yeah,
he's just so great. So we're really enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, y'all do a great job over there. It's fantastic. So Yvonne, thank you so much for being a part of the Ripple Effect podcast.
I have to go vacuum. I really do. So that's what I'm going to do next.
On that note, ripple on. All right.
Bye.